very slight delay in starting. It's 2 minutes past 6. Welcome to this meeting of the Cabinet on Wednesday, the 11th of March. Some of the usual housekeeping rules, no planned fire alarms, so if the alarm does sound, please leave via the emergency exit behind me and we'll meet on the car park. Can I ask that all mobile phones are at least switched on to silent, or if you can bear it, switch them off altogether. We've got members of the Cabinet in the room, along with senior officers. Other members of the Council may also dial in to the meeting via Teams to observe and or participate in the meeting. Would members please note this meeting is recorded and live streamed on YouTube, and the web link for this can be found on the Council's website. Members on Teams, you're most welcome. Can I ask you to keep your microphone on mute until you're invited in to speak? And if you raise your hand at any time, I will invite you in to speak. So can we move on to the first item on tonight's agenda? Apologies for absence. Apologies from Councillor Alty. We've just been informed that Councillor Bollenberg wishes for his apologies to be noted too. Has anybody else sent apologies? No, that would appear to be it. Okay, thank you. Declarations of interest, item number 2. Remind members of Cabinet that if anybody has a pecuniary interest, they are requested to leave the meeting completely and you can rejoin us following the completion of the item. Does anyone have any interest to declare? No. So we move on to the minutes of the last meeting. I have the minutes in front of me for approval. There is a slight amendment. Councillors Mrs Walton and Councillor Mr Smith have asked that their attendance at the meeting be added, and I distinctly remember them being sat to my right somewhere, so we're happy to add that in. With that, are there any comments from members of Cabinet? Anybody else in the room want to say anything about the minutes? Anybody online? Okay, so I propose those. Can I have a seconder? Seconded. Thank you, Anula. All those in favour, Cabinet only, please raise your hands. Thank you. So those are approved. The Cabinet's forward plan is item number 4. As always, just a reminder to members that this item is available on the web link that's shown in the agenda, a live document, so it may change at any time just to reflect our plans, but it's there for note. Everybody note that? Good, good. So we can move on. Item 5 then, our first substantive item, a response to the report of the Resident Engagement and Democratic Participation Scrutiny Review. It says here it's me to introduce and propose, but in introducing so, I'd like to invite Councillor Pillinger, who chaired the scrutiny review, to add any comments he might wish to.
Thank you, Leader. I'm grateful for the response in such quick time. The officers and the Cabinet have had this for a very short amount of time, and I suspect that as a result of that limited time, the scrutiny committee may want to ask the Cabinet to look at some of those items again once it's gone to the scrutiny committee. We'd be very happy to have conversations with members of Cabinet on the items that relate to their portfolios. Thank you.
Okay, and just to add my thanks to yourself and the other members of that task group for what was a fairly significant piece of work. You're right that this has been turned around relatively quickly. So if we can say we'd review this again, and I'm looking at Coral in 6 months, a further review, and we can have time to talk about things then. Okay, so anybody else on Cabinet want to raise anything on that agenda? Councillor Roberts.
Thanks, Leader. No, I just wanted to add my thanks to Scrutiny for the great report. People stepping forward in our communities is a really important thing, and it's the only way that things really, improve or change, or people know what you love about your local area. And there's some really good recommendations. I did notice a recommendation around new packs for residents entering the area. and I just wondered whether we could kind of look at maybe strengthening that around having a pack that welcomes new residents, but also someone who's registered to vote for the first time, because there might be some similarities in that pack that could be a benefit to both people, but it might just be one for officers to have a look at, because you know, ultimately if we can get more people voting and more people involved, then that's better for everyone. Thanks, Leader.
Okay, I can see people scribbling away, so thanks for that. Anybody else? No. Okay, so the recommendation is that we endorse the responses to the committee's recommendation, and I think with the addition of that, we review that in 6 months' time. I'm happy to propose that. Seconded.
Seconded.
Thank you. All's in favour? Great stuff. Okay, thank you. Move on now to the strategic risk register review. Again, a risk register is a live document, but it comes to Cabinet twice a year for us to review it. There are some changes to the previous risk register. They're itemised on page 25. As is the way with shared services, this document does refer to Chorley somewhere, so thank you to Councillor Unsworth for spotting that. Those have been noted and will be removed or amended accordingly. That being said, I'm happy to propose we note the risks and note the change to the risk register as itemised in bullet points 3 and 4. Can I get a seconder?
Seconded.
So that being seconded, we'll bring it up into debate. Anybody on Cabinet want to raise anything on the risk register? No. Any other members in the room? Doesn't appear so, and I don't see any hands on being raised by members online. So that being the case, that brings this item to a close. All's in favour? Thank you. We're only noting it, but I've got the monitoring officer next to me, so I like belt and braces approach, I think is always best. Okay, so we'll move on to item number 7, the Customer Access Charter, to be presented by Councillor Aniela Bilinski-Gelder. Aniela.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, this is a really important report for the Council. Customer access is the most important, whether you're having your bins collected or whether you want to phone the council to ask for help or ask for advice or anything like that. So this is really important. The two main recommendations are to approve implementation of the proposed new customer access charter from the 1st of April this year, and to approve the phase switch off of the generic customer services inbox. And I'll explain a little bit about why we're switching that off and how there's alternatives and the channel shift for customers. So the report seeks approval of our updated customer access charter, which has been refreshed to reflect how our services have been modernised since the current version was adopted in 2023. The revised charter centres around our residents' needs, reflecting current standards, digital improvements and our commitment to providing an excellent customer experience. Why the charter is being updated. It's since the current charter was adopted, we've modernised our services, introducing revised opening hours, an enhanced website, improved online forms and new digital channels, all improving customer experience. Customer expectations have also continued to evolve, with residents seeking faster, clearer and more convenient ways to engage with the council. Refreshing the charter ensures it remains aligned to the corporate vision, captures our modern service standards and strengthens our commitment to accessibility and satisfaction. The key improvements are 5 customer promises focused on fairness, access, timeliness, respect and listening. A stronger emphasis on accessibility, including a commitment to support customers who cannot get online. So we'll always have that face-to-face experience for customers, a digital first approach with an in-person and phone support retained for those who need it the most, clearer expectations for face-to-face services, including drop-in availability, prioritised appointments and access to private booths for people who might want to talk about something which is sensitive. Modernised contact routes, including web chat and improved digital pathways for those that are more digital savvy, and a phased switch off of the generic customer service inbox to reduce delays and encourage structured digital inquiries that provide better information and quicker resolutions for our customers. And I think that includes a bit of AI in terms of them doing some analysis and helping customers get what the information they need faster. Performance measures which remain flexible and responsive to operational activities. So the benefits for residents are the updated charter supports clearer communication, more consistent service standards and an improved customer journey, and it strengthens a digital inclusion, reduces avoidable contact, manages expectations around service demand and ensures resources are focused where the delivery's greatest impact. Alternative methods for capturing customer satisfaction will be introduced, which will allow us to wholly capture the customer sentiment across the customer services, and it will provide a deeper insight, quicker identification of issues and more representative satisfaction data to inform service improvements. The implementation and workforce preparation will include training programme. It will support this new charter and it will ensure staff understand the expectations, maintain high standards and support a consistent customer experience across all the channels. So the decision is, as I said, is to approve and update the Customer Access Charter for implementation and switch off the generic customer service inbox this year. Thank you.
Thank you. I take it that's an official proposal?
Yeah.
Which I'm happy to second. I think clearly as the world moves more and more online and many big organisations, it's almost impossible for you to contact them without doing it digitally. I think for local councils, that total switch off of a face-to-face option is never likely to happen, certainly not within, I nearly said my lifetime, but my time as a local councillor. I think we will always want to and need to offer that option. So that's reassuring to see that. Just this switch off of the generic email, I think I understand what that was, but do you think you could just explain that a bit more?
Yeah. If Alison wants to explain it, then she can explain in more detail operationally. But obviously it's an email inbox which gets every single departmental issue in, and it's more about it going to back office where they know the answers more and sorting it faster, and so that people do get answers faster. But I think Alison could probably explain it better.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Councillor Billinski-Gelder. Yes. Yeah, we do get around 1,000 emails into the customer-facing inbox monthly at the moment. A lot of those emails aren't structured, so it causes a lot of delays where we have to go back to residents to ask them for more information before we can actually respond to their inquiry. When we talk about phasing out the actual inbox itself, there will be a project on our business plan so that we do have some assurance of how that will be managed going forward, but it will include, as Councillor Billinski-Gelder touched on, signposting people to use online digital forms so that we capture their inquiry completely at the first point of contact, and then that will ensure that they get a speedy and full resolution at the first point of contact. Okay, thank you for that. And just finally from me, I'm really pleased to see that we're going to look to improve how we do customer surveys. I know it comes up quite a lot with members, and you can see from the report the tiny numbers of people who respond to our surveys. And I would always say people who are not happy are far more likely to respond to a survey than people who think we've been absolutely brilliant. So the better we can get at collecting that information, then the happier I will be. Okay, it's been proposed and seconded. Anybody in Cabinet want to add anything or ask any questions? No. Anybody else in the room? Members? Or an opportunity for anybody online to contribute? No. Okay, so we've heard the recommendations as itemised at bullet points 2 and 3 of the report. They've been proposed and seconded. So can I ask Cabinet members to indicate their approval or not? I'm pleased to say that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Aniela. So item number 8, utility procurement. Councillor Roberts, you're to present this item.
Thank you very much, Leader. This paper is to basically propose that we give our officers the kind of work in a framework to secure the best price possible for our electric and gas across all our buildings in South Ribble that we own for the next 12 months. Obviously, it's quite a lot of volatility at the minute that we'll all see on the petrol pump at the minute as well. So it's just to kind of get the best value for money for our residents, making sure we're getting as cheap as price as possible, and continue the really financial robust work that we're doing across all our assets, because ultimately our assets generate money which then allows us to subsidise other services in our council, and we should be quite proud about that, because it's not just it's helping more kind of deprived areas and all our residents. So happy to propose that, Leader.
Okay, short but sweet report, but that's how we like it. And I'm happy to second. Anybody on Cabinet got any questions for Councillor Roberts? Nope. Any members in the room interested in utility procurement? There might be. There might be. Anybody online? No. Okay, so that report has been proposed and seconded. All those in favour? Okay, we can get on with procuring utilities. Thank you. Oh, here we go. So, item number 9 is to Councillor Farnworth. The floor is yours, Matthew.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson. So this report is about the Safe Ribble Cultural Strategy to outline the main areas of research, objectives and actions within the culture strategy for Safe Ribble, and it recommends to Cabinet to review and approve the cultural strategy for Safe Ribble. It's been a long time coming, but I'm incredibly proud to announce our new cultural strategy here at Safe Ribble. I just want to pay a particular tribute to some of our officers, Emma, Claire and Caroline, for the work that they've done on this document. For years now, many people, like my ward councillor, Councillor Bell, and of course Councillor Howarth, have agreed that we should be looking to adopt and develop our own cultural strategy to help us guide us and our communities into what we're about. Now, many of you and our residents might ask, what actually is culture? And for me, and the common theme of what we've discovered in this strategy is about people, belonging, connection, having pride, our visibility and enhancing people's well-being. Whether it's someone who used to work at Motors having a pint at the Market Airlace in Leyland, someone's house in Buckshaw, the library in Longton, the venue in Much Hoole, Farrington Park, a school in Middleford or the vibrant Liverpool Road in Pemberton. It shouldn't be an additional extra, it's part of our life here at Safe Ribble. Now, sometimes culture can be one of the first things to be overlooked by local authorities, especially as we faced growing financial pressures to balance the books, but not by us. And I just want to give the Leader and Councillor Roberts every credit as we look to adopt many of the things that are in this strategy. So, going on to this strategy, it focuses on 3 main strands. So, number 1, making culture more visible in our everyday lives. The second thing, it brings culture to where people live, and that's formed the basis of our event strategy going forward. And the third thing is ensuring that residents feel ownership in their pride and in their place. So just over a year ago, we were asked by the then Leader, Councillor Alty, to take the work of the Cultural Task Group of the Scrutiny Committee and develop the Council's first ever cultural strategy. And I want to thank members of that task group for the contribution in the early stage. In the initial process, we sat down with CT Consulting, who helped us do the initial mapping exercise. We were able to locate 136 cultural and heritage assets across the borough, working with organisations both in the borough and outside. Now, the data that we gathered shows that Safe Ribble's creative sector is made up of micro businesses and sole traders, and those organisations often work with small margins and limited capacity, but they're agile. The people-led, and it means that this people-led approach means that they can respond quickly to the needs of the community and bring creativity into everyday lives. We've also found that our residents are actually really engaged with culture more than the national average, but don't necessarily have access to formal culture or heritage venues in person. So we need to bring events to people. So in pages 47 to 49, we've looked at the strengths and weaknesses of cultural delivery here in South Ribble. So if you want to take a look at that, that's what we base this on. So essentially, how can we achieve the vision that's in the strategy? So again, the first is about people and participation. So what does it mean in practice? So we'll be looking at activity delivered in community spaces, a pop-up creativity and seasonal events. We'll be using local artists paid to work with residents. There'll be increased promotion of what is on, both activities delivered externally and internally by the council. So there'll be things like creative cafes, monthly low-pressure creative meetups in community venues. There'll be things like artists in library residencies, and a digital platform to promote cultural activity. The second thing that we'll be doing is place and identity. So like I said, South Ribble's identity is shaped by its people, its heritage, our green spaces, and its distinct towns and villages all across. Yet many residents tell us their local stories, histories and cultural strengths often feel invisible and sometimes under-celebrated. We have to admit we've got a lot of potential here in South Ribble. Leyland Motors, the ROA at Buckshaw, things like Penworth and Gala, old train stations at Longton and the Western Parishes, and many more. So the consultants that we worked with identified a clear opportunity to grow a strong sense of place through culture, making creativity visible in public spaces and connecting everyone. So here we're going to focus on celebrating local characters, shared heritage and contemporary stories, sort of place making, by amplifying community voices, supporting local artists and creating visible moments of creativity across the borough. So again, what does this mean in practice? So there'll be things like behind the walls, which we'll be doing a number of murals in key communities that residents can co-design through various workshops with young people and within the communities. And I hope, well, one thing that we are looking to do is to start the first one potentially in Lostock Hall. So the next one is Story of Us, which is an oral history and micro exhibits popping up in empty windows. And the third is Heritage Postcards, which creates a publication celebrating local identity. Then the third thing that we'll be doing in terms of the cultural strategy is where we've found out that micro businesses, freelancers and sole traders make up quite a lot of the borough. So we don't have that many huge corporations or organisational hubs like we see on our neighbours, like in Preston. So we need to focus on the stronger cultural ecosystem, which means that community organisations, businesses, schools and heritage groups all work with the council, and then we can aim to attract external investment such as Arts Council funding for the first time and commission local talents and creating an infrastructure for creative industries. So again, what we'll do is collaborate on joint projects like the Leyland Town deal. We'll develop new funding bids, for instance. We'll do things like the South Ribble Creative Collection, funding readiness for workshops for grassroots to apply for community grants, and creative careers pathways, which will have inclusion, representation and accessibility, which is displayed in page 54. I also have to make reference to the South Ribble Museum, which the cultural strategy provides options for the museum, which we will discuss at Cabinet in the coming months. Now, I know as a council, we want to keep and protect our heritage assets, but we've got a few options to look at. So people who have been in the building to make it safe, and we've moved the collection out of the building into storage, but there's a lot of work to do. And, you know, my fellow councillors, you've got my commitment that I will look at all the available options. And again, that'll be coming out in a few months' time. So we also have our cultural assets of Worden Hall and Hurst Grange Coach House, and I'm pleased to say that after the issues we've encountered over the past few years, Worden Hall is paying for itself, and with the hard work and the dedication of our officers, we've seen a significant increase in bookings, both in terms of weddings and private functions. Working across the departments with Parks and Open Spaces team, we're seeing a real benefit of teamwork, which will hopefully mean Worden Hall is the go-to wedding venue in Lancashire. Which leads me finally onto events. So I'm pleased to say that the cultural strategy has enabled us to do a review of the events programme, particularly this year, which we tried to get around as much as a borough as possible with a broad range of events. So we've got a really exciting programme for 2026 which includes such as Barn and Barrel, a beer festival on Wordon Park, the Freedom of the Borough Parade, Longton and Penwortham Live, Beyond the Wall, like I said, in terms of the mural trails, Taste of Leyland, and also many other things. And we'll also contribute and continue to support local events such as Leyland Festival, Music in the Town and the Remembrance Parade. This is all while we're seeing an increased use of bookings again at Wordon Hall, and I want to pay tribute again to the hard-working officers. We've also got a unique offer here for the first time with our Parks Alive proposal that I briefed the scrutiny committee on, and again I will send a copy to all ward councillors using our parks in terms of our neighbourhood hubs, including things from May to August, which will be a really good programme of events really. So ultimately, I think we've really done something that we can achieve and something that we can deliver. And finally, within the cultural strategy, you'll also see reference that we are going to submit Leyland as the UK, as our nomination for the UK Town of Culture, that we hopefully will be shortlisted and we'll find out over the next couple of months. So it's a long document, and I'd just like to ask Cabinet to approve, and again I'll take any comments or questions.
Thanks, Matt. I'm happy to second that. It is a long document, but it's a really interesting document, and it tells you quite a lot about our borough, I think, in general. I was encouraged. I noticed there's a SWOT analysis in there, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, for those who don't know what that is, but far more bullet points against the opportunities than there are against any of the others, and that's really encouraging. I'd also like to support the idea of using our green flag parks as venues for cultural events, and they can be as simple as, you know, an organised picnic, to having a brass band on or something like that. They're fabulous venues when we get the weather, but they are fabulous venues, and I'm really supportive of us using them as much as we can for that. Finally, just it's really good news about Wordon Hall. It does feel like we've finally got the right people in the right place to deliver on it, but I would remind people that was a grade 2 listed building that we own that was deteriorating and had been boarded up for 7 years before we took over. So just the fact that we've redeveloped it in of itself is a great thing that we should all be proud of. And I know that many residents, certainly the users of the park, will comment on what a fabulous building we've got out of it. And they're not necessarily saying to me, and does it pay for itself? They're just saying it's a fabulous building and it provides a real focal point on the park. But other than that, finally, just to give tribute to those people who have been talking about a cultural strategy for a while, and that is, you know, Jane Bell and David Howarth and Jackie when she was the leader. You know, whilst we're all here presenting this, it's built on the work and enthusiasm of people who've been talking about this for a long time, and we should recognise that. But I'm happy to second the proposals. Can I ask anybody in Cabinet if they want to add anything or ask Matt any difficult questions? Aniela.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what you said about how people have been asking for something like this, but just say well done to Matt or Councillor Farnworth for actually bringing this really ambitious programme forward, to be able to define culture as well. I think it should appeal to most people when you talk about buildings, architecture, food, communities, history, creativity, music. So anybody that is interested in any of those things, which I think most people in the borough should be, they're welcome to come to attend the events programme or see the things that we have around South Ribble. I've lived in South Ribble all my life, all 21 years, and I've never seen anything like this so cohesively put together, so well thought out and so ambitious. And I'm really excited to see you putting it into action with the support of all the people that you've said. I do have one question, and that is around some people we know might think, oh, I'd love to go to that, but there's barriers there. There's reasons why I can't go in their mind. I'm just wondering what we're doing to make sure that those barriers disappear and we try and get as many younger people, older people, and families and all the different parts of the community, give them confidence that this programme is for them. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Councillor Bielinski-Geller. I think it's a really important point that you make. In terms of people facing barriers, one thing that we did sort of look at, and again that the cultural strategy emphasises that people want stuff, whether it's sort of hyper local to them. Now, one of the good things that's come out of this, and again I reference a sort of town of culture sort of bid. We had a meeting yesterday with officers, and it was a real successful meeting because our events team spoke to a number of people within the council in terms of with the communities team and stuff, and it's working together to identify those sort of pockets of our residents who might not necessarily be able to come out, and it's working together to try and obviously achieve that outcome. I don't know if you want to add anything, Caroline.
Yeah, so I think the cultural strategy really sort of like suggests that we will take culture out to people and out into the communities, which obviously will really sort of like help us like reach diverse communities out in our borough. I think what I would say as well is when we are obviously shaping and designing our events, completing an equality impact assessment is really important to that process, to think about obviously how we can make more of our events like inclusive, and I think we have achieved that with a lot of the events like that we put on. We make sure that obviously there's facilities for people with disabilities. We try and make sure that our events do appeal like to wide audiences, so I do think we already do consider that in what we deliver, and as I say, having that dialogue with our communities around what they view as culture, what's important to them and what they want us to deliver. I think that open dialogue helps us to make sure that we shape a programme that's inclusive for everybody really.
Yeah, thank you for that. And for me as well, it's about considering the barriers, not just the traditional ones that we might identify in an equalities list, but things like location, poverty, all these kind of things. So by putting on free events that are really local to people, culture in South Ribble should be for everybody, and that's what we're going to try and do. So, Wes.
Thanks, Leader. It's really interesting tonight because we've just had an amazing cultural strategy delivered by Councillor Farnworth, which I know loads of people put loads of effort into. But it just highlights how holistic we are as a council and how we're thinking about everything and how it works together. Because we've got Councillor Bielinski talking about customers and barriers and how can we have access to them. And we are, people that are in the borough are our customers, and we are a listening council. And if people came forward and said, you know what, I really like that event that you're planning in Lostercole, but I can't get to it because of X or Y, get in touch with us. We're on Facebook, we're on the council, there's an email address, and it's for people to step forward. But we're thinking it from a customer perspective. We're trying to grapple with something that culture means something different to everyone. And for me, I was at Worden Hall and Worden Park on Sunday, so I took my son to the play area, and then I went to Worden Hall, and then I went on the train, and I can't remember the last time I went on the train. a free smoke train. They take donations, only cash the other day. There was no card, but that's a bit of culture. It was nice, and people were playing and laughing and running around the play area, and we're continuing to invest in our playgrounds and at Worden Park and right across the borough. And we see all these different things. We talk about assets a lot and kind of how they all fit together. Mm-hmm. And from my side, we're doing a strategic asset management review and how we kind of, where our values are and what work we do with our values. And everywhere you look in this strategy is our values shining through the report. And if you want to know what we're about as an administration, this is what we're about. And it's about bringing that, and it's not just about making the sums add up, and it's not just about providing services that we legally have to do or we don't, because we don't have to legally do this, but we should, because it's really important and the value it adds is great. So I'm glad we're taking it by the scruff of the neck and showing what culture means to us and doing it in a positive way.
Yeah, hear to that. Councillor Farnworth, do you want to come back?
Yes, please. Thanks. I echo everything that you said, Councillor Roberts. One thing that I did forget to mention, and it relates to Councillor Bielinski-Gelder's point, you know, one thing that is in this strategy as well is empowering communities. So we've got, for the first time, a communities sort of, communities events grant. And again, I want to empower, so those communities who doesn't necessarily feel that the council puts on events for them over the last couple of years, you know, there's a pot of money here that's available, working with our officers and our partners, that I want community groups and communities to try and bid into, and we'll be opening that, you know, as soon as we can. So there'll be some comments on that.
I have a feeling there'll be no shortage of people looking to take advantage of that either. Councillor Sharples, you wanted to come in?
Yeah, just very quickly. I'd like to add my thanks and congratulations to everybody involved. It's a really, really good strategy. I'm really pleased. Page 84, it talks about children and young people. Every young person should have access to creativity, etc. and create opportunities for young people to co-design events. That stuff's really, really important because they're the next generation and that adds sustainability to it. I think that's really important and I'm glad it's in there. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Unsworth.
Thank you, Leader. I just want to say I was pleased that the policy included, specifically referred to children with additional needs and acknowledged that there are barriers around transport and costs, and often that group's overlooked, and it's sort of as an afterthought, people are sort of scrambling around thinking how can we fit them in, whereas including them from the start does show a genuine commitment to equity and thoughtful planning, so thank you for that. Okay,
Really positive comments. Thank you to Cabinet colleagues. Anybody else in the room want to comment? I've got Councillor Martin and then Councillor Pillinger.
Thank you, Leader. I'm quite pleased that this is, well, extremely pleased that this has come to fruition. One of the things we sort of haven't quite, we may have brushed upon it, but the work that Councillor Bielinski-Gelder has been doing can be benefited as well from this sort of thing, because I mean, when you attend these events and you see the buoyancy in people because they've had a bit of a night out, it's been good value for money, no trouble, all that sort of thing. I mean, I'm very rare do we see any issues with some of the events we put on in the past. I mean, obviously we started with Penwortham Live and Leyland, and we sort of grown from there when we were allowed to by the current administration. So I just want to say thanks.
Thanks, and at the risk of embarrassing you, Keith, you know, Keith's somebody who really gets engaged in culture. And if you go to the Penwortham Gala or the Longton Live or Penwortham Live, Keith's always there getting his hands dirty and making sure these things, don't look at me like that, making sure these things actually happen, and it's credit to you, Keith. Councillor Pillinger, you wanted to come in.
As somebody who was on the initial working group, it's lovely to see this excellent report being presented, and we've actually got there and done it. Can I just give tribute to our current mayor for the string quartet concerts that he's organised at Worden Hall. For me, who finds it difficult to get into Manchester to the Halle or to Liverpool or wherever, where the big orchestras are, it's really nice to have something like that you can sit and enjoy. And I hope that that sort of thing will be brought into the sort of long-term things, and that future mayors will bring their own genius to our cultural strategy. I do wonder whether, in the past I've been in areas where you've had Shakespeare done in parks, and I wonder whether any of our universities in Lancashire might have people studying drama who might like to come and perform. My mind immediately goes to Worden Park and then Withy Grove, and I'm actually thinking A Midsummer Night's Dream in Paradise Park would be really lovely.
Okay, I've been on the council long enough to remember Shakespeare in Worden Park. No, not Shakespeare himself. I can remember Shakespeare being performed in Worden Park in the past. So that's clearly something that's well within the realms of possibility. I'm just going to get Councillor Farnworth to respond.
It's actually within the realms of possibility because we're doing Shakespeare in the Park, Romeo and Juliet on Worden Park in July. So there we go.
Marvellous, there we are. A rose by any other name, etc., etc. And speaking of the geniuses of Mayors to come, Councillor Tomlinson, you wanted to speak.
Apparently, Councillor Watkinson's not here tonight, so I'll reply instead of him. Yeah, I'll congratulate the present mayor because the quartet he held in November was absolutely amazing at Worden Park. I'd like to thank Matt for his cultural revolution in South Ribble. However, I do have a question to ask you about your speech you just made. Did you say huge corporation or Hughes Corporation? Because if you did say Hughes Corporations, they're no longer a band and they won't be performing anywhere in South Ribble. And I'd also like to congratulate Councillor Claire Hunter because she has arranged a fun fair at Withygrove Park over the Easter weekend, and it is free of charge to the children and it's not costing this council a penny. So congratulations, Councillor Hunter, a great piece of work, and I can't wait to be there, even though I won't be able to fit in one of the teacups.
Okay, thank you for that. And for anybody under the age of 60, the Hughes Corporation were a modern beat combo who were in the charts in the 1970s. So there we are. Thanks, see? And people are thanking me because they've not a clue what you were talking about. Okay, anybody online want to contribute anything sensible? No, but I think that has been received with just about unanimous approval. So we're really excited by it, and it's a fine piece of work, and we look forward to it turning into reality. So that has been proposed and seconded. Can I see all those in favour? Thank you very much. Okay, thank you. And we remain in positive mindset, really, because there's something else exciting coming to South Ribble, and it's Councillor Claire Hunter.
I'm already here, Leader. So, this is a report about paddle courts at South Ribble Tennis Centre. In 2021, we decided we were going to establish South Ribble Tennis Centre as a racket centre. Okay, so this is actually creating now what we originally decided in 2021. So this report presents a plan for the creation of 3 paddle courts at South Ribble Tennis Centre for the consideration of the Cabinet. That the Cabinet approve the proposed plan of 3 paddle courts, that the Cabinet approve a capital budget of 140,000 to take this forward, and that the Cabinet delegate the awarding of the contract to build the Cabinet courts to Cabinet Member for Health, Wellbeing and Leisure, that's me, following a suitable procurement process. So basically, as part, the proposal in front of you outlines that we intend to change 2 of the now tennis centre courts into 3 paddle courts. And everybody knows that paddle seems to be the upcoming and incoming sport. It's an ever-growing and popular sport and provides a real opportunity for growing both usage and new revenue for the centre. It offers a high-yield, fast-growing indoor sport that complements tennis rather than replaces it, but is suitable for all ages. So we looked at different ways of, we may lose 40,000 from the income of the 2 tennis courts, but the best gain scenario, we will gain 242,000 from the 3 new paddle courts, which to me, the maths works out quite nicely. So as we were, we're looking at cost neutrality for the leisure centres, and this will be a big part of achieving it. So really, the recommendations to Council are that the Cabinet approve the proposed plan of 3 paddle courts, that the Cabinet approve a capital budget of 140,000, and the Cabinet delegate the awarding of the contract to build the paddle courts to the Cabinet Member of Health and Wellbeing and Leisure, following a suitable procurement process.
Thank you. I'm happy to second that proposal. I particularly like the idea of us diversifying the offer at the tennis centre, and there's absolutely no doubt that the relatively new sport of paddle is just gaining in popularity just exponentially. Particularly like the idea that older people can play it as well. So, but I'll declare an interest maybe on that. But I do think it is growing, and we're seeing paddle courts appearing here and there. So, Claire, I hope you'll thank the staff for me who have brought forward this proposal. And I think their enthusiasm and their ability to just think and act quickly is to be commended. And if you think of the subsidy we were giving to leisure 2 or 3 years ago, and the trajectory that we're on to hopefully get into a cost-neutral position with our leisure provision, and this is another big step forward. So please pass on my personal thanks to the people who've been working on this. That being said, I've officially seconded it. Any comments from Cabinet members? Councillor Farnworth.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson. Councillor Hunter, I think it's a fantastic proposal. It's, again, we're talking about moving with the times, and it's really important that the council does. It's a real opportunity with the rise of paddle? Yeah. We've seen recent courts go up in Preston, and I know there's a private one in Buckshaw. I think we've got a real good opportunity here to get some sort of middle price. As long as we get the price right, I think it's really good, and it'll bring some really good income for the council, and I'm all in favour of it.
Great stuff. Councillor Roberts.
It's as if you designed this agenda perfectly, Leader. The thread throughout it of, the paddle's going to bring more culture to South Ribble. It also creates this kind of journey that we're on of delivering the best version of our council at the best cost and absorbing money. We're saving £1 million this year from just redesigning various services, and the finance team are doing great. And then the leisure saving £100 grand from the subsidy that we give to the leisure company. So it's a great story of how we're constantly moving with the times to give our customers the best outcomes.
Yep, agreed entirely, and I look forward to Claire appearing on the council's new TikTok with a paddle racket. You might have to actually take those heels off for once. I don't think they'll let you on the paddle court in those. Anybody not on Cabinet in the room want to speak? Councillor Green, welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Can I thank Councillor Hunter for bringing this report, and thank the officers for the work on this proposal, which is something which, in principle, I wholeheartedly support. In my younger days, I used to be very active racket sport enthusiast, not paddle, but certainly other racket sports, and I think it does have some potential to bring significant benefits for all different age groups, and it definitely is a very rapidly growing sport, as the leader has set out. I do have some comments and queries, though, if I may. So the report, I sound like I'm nitpicking, but the report does make reference to the sport originating in Spain. I think if you actually look back, I think it originated in Acapulco in Mexico. And it was somebody who, I think the story is, it was a model that blackmailed her husband that if he didn't create a court for this new sport of paddle for her, she'd leave and go back to Argentina. I think when I read about this some time ago, I think that's the story. So that's the interesting side of it, but there's no doubt it became popular in other countries, Spain being one of them, and that has spread from there right across the world, and particularly in this country, with courts being created all the time that you see about them. But the queries I've got is obviously we are going to take up 2 of the tennis courts at the tennis centre, and the report does make reference to the potential impact on income, but I'm sure that would be offset by the paddle and more so. But that also does mean that we've got less capacity for people that do play tennis. So I'm just wondering whether that's been calculated. Will there be sufficient capacity for tennis players? Have we considered alternative sites or alternative proposals for either paddle or tennis, so we're covering both of those sports? And the other sport I wanted to mention was pickleball. So what plans have we got for factoring in pickleball moving forwards? Because again, that is rapidly going, and again, it suits a whole range of ages, and is a great form of exercise for people to take part in. Thank you.
So, notwithstanding the comments about Acapulco and models, which were all very interesting. I never thought Councillor Green would take us to Acapulco, but there we are. There were some very specific questions for you, Councillor Hunter.
I've just got a query then. So how did she know there was paddleball existed if it didn't actually start there? So anyway, other than that, right, so if you've been in the South Ribble Tennis Centre, we've got the tennis courts on one side, haven't we? And we've got 2 tennis courts set off after the gymnastics. Do you remember, have you been in yet? And basically it's those 2 tennis courts at that side that will be changed into the 3 paddle. Neil and Paul and Danny have already been looking at reorganising the tennis sessions, etc., making the best and, you know, booking sessions and etc. So I think for the people that are interested in tennis, I think we will have that sorted. For the ones that are interested in tennis but having to go at paddle, then the option is now there open. As for the pickleball, I don't think we've got room right now, but we might have a look later on at building an extension. Okay, so is that all right? Yeah.
That's a different cabinet report altogether.
Just got to say while we're actually on, which is what you pointed out, thanks to Jennifer, thanks to Neil sat over there, and thanks to Paul and Danny. Because Paul and Danny are so enthusiastic, they've done the research behind this, they've visited different centres and conferences, and as you pointed out, there's loads of private companies setting up paddle courts. If private companies are doing it, there's a profit to be made.
Yeah, and that, for me, I think the chart on page 107 that looks at a worst case and best case scenario just tells you that this is the right thing to do. Councillor Green, did you want to come back?
Just to thank Councillor Hunter for that response, Leader. And whilst Councillor Caleb Tomlinson is in the room, I don't know when these will be opening, but perhaps we could have it as a Merrow event in the year ahead, and I'm sure several councillors will be willing to take part in that.
Go on, Councillor Tomlinson.
Thanks, Leader, for allowing me the dignity of a response to that challenge. I will be quite delighted to have a game of paddleball against you, Councillor Green, and I'd be delighted to make it a mayoral event as well for the whole of the general public to come to.
There we are. We've reached perfection. It was already a great report, and now it's just about perfect.
Right. Michael, Councillor Green, this is something that slipped past me. Apparently we do some sessions of pickleball in Bamber and Leyland, so, and I didn't know that, but I will go and check it out.
Great stuff. Every day is a school day. We all learn something, don't we? But I think, generally speaking, it's just a fantastic opportunity. Sorry, Councillor Martin, did you want to add something?
Thank you, Leader. I would dispute the Acapulco thing because, I mean, they were only founded about the mid-16th century where Henry VIII was backing a ball around and paddling a little bit before that. So I'm willing for that argument. Yeah, I mean, the paddle thing, I mean, if you go past the one in Preston where that used to be Staples Corner, or Staples as we used to know it, it's busy until silly o'clock in the morning. So I don't know if that's something we'll be accommodating with our paddling, but I think we might need to sort of think about that and maybe the effects on some of the. I don't think there's any residents quite close by, but there are some just where the old outside football pitches. There's residents by the outside football pitches.
Okay,
So,
yeah, I'm chairing this meeting, so if you could talk to me, I'd be really
but again,
I've allowed people to wander off literally all over the world, and I think it's just time we brought the meeting back into the room.
Yeah. So I just wanted to add that it's another thing that's energetic and it's good for all ages, which means that it will improve the health of people as well and give an opportunity, same as what we're doing with play parks, same as everything else. As Councillor Roberts already said, there is a bit of a thread running through this meeting. Thank you.
Great. Okay, and we've got one indication from someone not in the room who wishes to speak. Councillor Smith, do you want to contribute to this debate?
Yes, I would, Chair. Thank you. I won't go over all the previous discussions, but I would like just to ask Councillor Hunter whether this will be registered with the LTA. which can be used for competition work then, and will it be built to LTA standards to achieve that, because that will open it up to a whole new ball game, as it were, Chair. Thank you.
Right, Councillor Smith, we're looking into that, and I do like the pun about a whole new ball game, but we will look into that.
Yeah, thank you. Smashed it out of the park. Okay, so sorry. I've been working with you too long, Councillor Fine, with the king of the dad joke. Okay, so that has been where are we? Proposed and seconded. Just members of Cabinet only. Can I see all those in approval? Okay, so thank you. That has been approved. And I believe that brings our meeting to a close. So thank you, everybody, for your attendance. Our next Cabinet meeting is scheduled for the 10th of June, which seems like an awful long time away. But
election time,
there we
we
are.
always avoid it,
Yeah,
even though you have
yeah,
elections all the time.
It's the mayor making and the business meeting of the council in between. So next meeting. Can I just remind members of Cabinet that we've got another meeting that we needed to stay in the room for, but that's for Cabinet only. It'll only be 5 minutes. So I have to stay.